My name is Brian Clowdus, and I am the founder of Clowdus Experiences and the founder of Serenbe Playhouse, wearing multiple hats these days. And currently I'm doing the Edgar Allan Poe Experience here at the Wrens Nest in Atlanta.
Okay, it sounds like you may not have had enough to do at Serenbe.
I was getting bored, you know. Serenbe is about to go into our 10th year anniversary, and now I have a full staff at Serenbe, and it all happened really organically. People started reaching out to me to come and do things in their communities or in their museums, or right now. And then a couple of years ago, I spun off Clowdus Experiences, and things are starting to really happen on that end, and it's exciting to be able to do both.
Now, is that something you always wanted to kind of incorporate the brand, or does it kind of happen?
It really happened the same way that Serenbe Playhouse happened. It really happened organically, and for me, as an artist, the work is the work. You know, I'm in love with site-specific environmental work. So no matter if I'm at Serenbe or I'm in other locations through this other brand, it still feels like the same work to me. So I want to do as much site-specific work as possible. So for me, it's just more opportunities.
So how you distinguish the stuff you're doing at Serenbe from the stuff you're doing with your brand?
So the stuff at Serenbe happens at Serenbe, so it's geographical. And then the other stuff I'm taking in other locations, so it's really based on location.
And tell us a little bit about the production you're doing here at the Wrens Nest.
So they reached out to me, gosh, about 8 months ago, and they said, we would love for you to come and pump some new energy into our museum. So I came and did a tour, and I was just blown away by the potential. You know, it felt like I'd stepped into a different time period and stepped into a different world, and they wanted to do something around fall. Everybody wants a show in October. So originally I was like, you know, what is something that has some namesake? What is something that would fit in this environment? And Edgar Allan Poe popped into our heads. And then as I started exploring all the different rooms, they all reminded me of his really iconic stories. So then we pulled in The Raven, The Telltale Heart, The Mask of Red Death, and The Fall of the House of Usher. And we have turned the Wrens Nest into an asylum where Edgar Allan Poe is spending his last days, and audience members follow Poe around, and the nurses and the doctor will become these characters through his eyes. So it is a completely on-your-feet, immersive experience. And as an audience member, you have a lot of choice in your journey. You can stay in one room the whole time, you can follow Poe, you can stay in a room when Poe is not in here, and you can get a therapy session from a nurse or a doctor. And people in the past couple of days just being open, they're really reacting, saying, finally, immersive theater in Atlanta. So I'm super excited about it. And it's been so successful, we've extended to November 4th. So that's always a good thing.
So all-inclusive experience, is that what your intention to giving people with this? I guess it's kind of appropriate for Halloween too, right?
Yeah, it's totally, you know, it's creepy, but it's also, it has some like fun in it. It's also very sexy that you're gonna see, because I think there's like that real delicate balance between like really creepy and really sexy. So I'm trying to push the boundaries on that. You know, I was really inspired by Sleep No More, which is a fully immersive experience in New York where you enter and you put on a mask and you're not allowed to speak, and you are just on complete 100% like wandering. You're in control of your journey. And so it's something I had not done before. You know, I love progressive, immersive theater that you follow the actors around, but I'd never done a piece before where the audience chooses which direction they go. And it's been really interesting to see audiences kind of be like afraid to make a decision, but then by the end they're like, oh, I totally get this, I know what I'm doing. And I think it's important to give audience members a little bit of freedom so they could come back to this multiple times and it would feel very different each time. So yeah, people seem to be digging it.
That's pretty new and interesting in the Atlanta market, I think. I don't think I've seen that before.
Yeah, there's not a lot of it. I mean, I think there is an audience that loves this type of theater, but I think it really is, you know, more specific to a New York audience. And, you know, when I say New York, I don't turn my nose up, but I'm a Southern boy through and through, and I think that great art lives everywhere, and I think some of the most exciting art is happening outside of New York and LA. So I'm super passionate about bringing this type of immersive work to where I live, So I'm excited to be bringing it here.
So for those of us who may not be as familiar with this concept, how do we experience this?
So you'll be given a set of rules before you enter from the doctor. And I would say the main thing to do is to let yourself be open, don't be guarded in this type of overly immersive experience. And don't get frustrated if you don't understand everything immediately, because you can tell initially people are like, oh, well, where do I go? Where do I sit? And we don't allow them to talk unless they're spoken to. So it is interesting to see people start to put the pieces together. And then you can see how people might fall in love with one room or a certain character, and they'll want to track that journey as well. And I don't want to give too much away, but you will find that the things that live in Poe's mind, and then also the actual reality of the asylum, they start to blur together the closer he gets to completely losing his mind.
Mm-hmm. Now, for something like this, is there a cast involved? Is it scripted?
Yeah, so there's 5 actors. There's Poe, and then there is one person representing each of the 4 iconic stories. And there is a very base script, but there's also a lot of improvisation involved as well. And there's certain key story plot moments they need to hit, but otherwise they have a lot of freedom. And there's a couple of rooms that have choreography in them, and those, of course, are a little bit more structured. But you'll see as Poe goes through this round of stories 3 times, they become a little bit more different, a little bit more dangerous, and a little bit more chaotic. And there's, as an audience member, I hope that maybe you feel like you might be going a little bit insane towards the end as well. So yeah.
Now, how are you able to cast something like this, since this is so unconventional? How do they approach something like this?
So everyone that's in this cast I knew. And the number one thing that you have to have as an actor is that you have to be able to improv. You have to be able to think on your feet. And there's also an element of singing in this, so all of the actors are singers. But you have to have presence, number one, and you have to be able to think on your feet and be given a broad concept and story points that you have to hit, but otherwise you've got to go. Because they will be in here for 5 minutes at a time without a script. So there is only a script when Poe is in a room. Otherwise, there are nurses in here having audience members come in for a therapy session.
Now, it sounds like the audience get to kind of roam around on their own.
They do.
I'm assuming that they are not all maybe in the same place at the same time.
It's impossible. So we're actually selling it to 100. So there will be 100 people in this house. And we can fit about 25 people per room. So each round of stories, you have the opportunity to be in one room. So there's 4 main rooms. So there's 25 people can fit into each. So we thought no one ever feels left out. And we also have a parlor where you can get your medicine. And at any point, if you want to chill out or take a break from the experience, you can go hang out in the parlor as well. Oh. So, but it's cool, we've seen people who, they might wander out a little bit early because they've experienced enough, and then some might want to stay even longer. But we try to give the audience as much freedom as possible. But there is a beginning and there is an end, but the middle is very fluid.
Okay, I was about to ask about that. So does it have a definite, so it does have a definite,
it has a definite stopping time. Yes. Okay. But you could come in and experience a lot of it and not have to stay till the end, but the ending is really cool.
Okay. I guess for anything, would you want to say to people who thinking about maybe coming out to this experience and trying it out?
It's not your standard theater experience, so you're not going to have a seat. You might, there might be chairs in some of the rooms, but I think that if you want to come do this, you have to throw away the concept of what theater is, or even environmental theater, because this is truly immersive theater, and you come in not knowing everything, so you have to work a little bit harder harder. And you know, it attracts sort of a fun audience of like people who are looking for like a haunted house, but also people who are looking for a cool fall play experience, but also people who love Edgar Allan Poe, so people who love literature. So yeah, it's this awesome cross section, and the audience is very diverse, which I always love seeing, and it's great to see art being pumped in to this old historic landmark, and also having art pumped into the West End. You know, it's like this neighborhood has got so much, you know, excitement and new energy coming into it. So I'm loving being here, helping get more people onto this side of Atlanta.
Mm. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And this is the inaugural production of
yeah, this is the first production they've ever done here. And rumor has it I might be doing a Christmas show here as well. So that's just been in the talks because it's been a huge success. And the board of the Wrens Nest is excited to see all of these people coming into the museum because, you know, I preach a lot. If these old art forms are going to remain alive, I think that's museums, ballet, opera, theater, you have to get a new audience in. You can't do the same thing you've always been doing, or people are going to stop coming, or they're going to start dying, you know? So I truly believe that for art to live, it has to constantly be reinvented, and you have to get young people in because that is our audience. It has to be a huge age range.
Well, if anybody can be innovative enough to do it, it's you. I mean,
I'm trying.
You're changing the game all over the city, so we appreciate you being involved in the arts community and doing what you do. So for those who may be interested in purchasing tickets and finding out more information about the show, how can they do so?
You need to go to wrensnest.org, WRENSNEST.org for tickets.
Mm-hmm. And if people just want to maybe see what you're up to, your next project or what have you, how can they find about you on social media or what have you?
So everything is just my name, Brian Clowdus, and that's Brian with an I, and the last name is Clowdus, and I just launched a swanky new website, brianclowdus.com. So I've got a lot of exciting stuff going on. Oh, and I forgot to talk about, I have another experience in Atlanta opening next week at Sweetwater Brewery. It's called Sweetwater Scream. You've got to come check that out too, but we're basically turning their brewery into a haunted experience. So you're on a beer tour and then all of a sudden things start to go wrong and you are being chased through the brewery. So Sweetwater Scream, and that opens next week.
All right, we have to come back and talk to you about that.
Yes, absolutely. We'll get you a beer and we'll hook you up. So.
All right. Well, thank you, Brian, once again, and I look forward to this and your future endeavors as well.
Thank you.